Sup, fellas? Had to dust off the old mic and gameplay to deliver a talk on a topic that's kind of near and dear to my heart. As a young dude, your potential is so fucking high, right? You've got an unfathomably capped downside, and then your upside is limitless, right? But for some reason, like society and cultural norms have convinced everyone that the opposite is true. They make it feel like you've got little to no upside and potential infinite downside when that quite literally couldn't be farther from the truth. It kind of pisses me off because that leads into these stupid fucking situations where the average 20-year-old dude lives life as though he's like 42 with a fucking huge mortgage over his head, and he's one missed payment away from losing it all, and his kid's hungry and he can't afford food. And quite honestly, that's kind of fucked, man. I feel like as a young dude in his 20s, the biggest risk you can take is not taking any risk at all. Like, honestly, I'd probably go as far as to say that if you're in your 20s, you should be risk maxing. I know. I already hear the Redditors coming out of the woodwork like, Flux, that's preposterous. You're going to throw your life away. And that's kind of exactly the the thing I'd like to push back on, right? There's a term in finance called asymmetric upside, right? And this kind of is used to describe a situation or an investment or a trade or whatever where the risk is way outweighed by the reward. So for example, let's say you got a simple coin flip game. You bet $1, if it comes up heads, you gain $2, right? Now, let's say that instead of winning $1 when that coin comes up heads, you win $10 instead. That right there is an example of asymmetric upside, right? You'd kind of be a fucking idiot not to stand there flipping that coin all day, you know what I mean? So the argument that I'm trying to make is that me, Flux, I see that you, young man in his 20s, have this asymmetric upside built into you as a person. Your ability to take risk in your 20s is unmatched, honestly, and your ability to bounce back from failed risk is also unmatched. And this creates a crazy combo where if you're not risk maxing in your early 20s, you're honestly setting yourself back rather than forward. The standardized safe strategy that's kind of parroted by like old heads and boomers and shit is like, go to post-secondary, whether that's college or university, get yourself a job, and then save 10% of that paycheck, and if you save very diligently, you'll get a house. Which, again, sounds good on paper until you realize that that shit doesn't work anymore. Like, that shit has been unfortunately patched for like 20 years, my guy. That's no longer the strat. But yeah, let's use that as the baseline safe case, right? So let's say you do that, you get yourself a job, you're making 80 grand, some bullshit. You can save up what, 10, 20 grand of that if you're living in a shitty studio apartment with some roommates. Houses are what, a fucking mill? So as long as you can repeat that 20 grand savings 50 more times in a row, then you're good, man. And also, I forgot to mention that house is actually now 1.1 mil, so it's 55 sets of $20,000 of savings. So I will see you when you're 75, brother. All that being said, an astute viewer or listener may have realized that risk maxing and failing, or succeeding at the traditional life path advice, yield eerily similar results. And that's kind of the whole point of this video and kind of what I wanted to outline on a fundamental level. If you risk max and fail, or if you do the traditional advice, the end result is no different. On the other hand, if you risk max and you succeed, your life can have such a positive swing upwards that it's honestly not worth the risk of not doing it. You quite literally owe it to yourself to risk max and give yourself a better life. The ultimate irony of risk maxing is that you can really only do it in your 20s. The worst case scenario here is you're sleeping on a couch at your buddy's place eating beans for like a month, and then you're back on your feet. As soon as you start pushing the late 20s, early 30s, you're kind of unk status. That's when the risk profile changes. You can't really couch surf with a wife and 3 kids or so. The window to risk max is sort of finite. You can only do it in your early 20s, and then once that window closes, it's definitely time to take some chips off the table. And again, I'm talking about metaphorical chips here. I want to clear up this misconception right away because I know a lot of dudes are going to be like, risk maxing equals gambling, and that couldn't be farther from the truth, okay? I don't want you to go to a casino and throw all that shit on red and be like, yeah, boy, I'm risk maxing, because that's inherently, you miss the point. An all-out bet on red can improve your life at an equal rate as it destroys your life, and that's not what the essence of risk maxing is. You want to take high probability bets on yourself or opportunities that have a meaningful way of changing your life. So yeah, enough yapping. Let's get into some examples. So the one off the top of my head that's kind of the most obvious is kind of like a career or income risk max. As a young dude, you've got nothing but like time and ideas. So why not convert those time and ideas into a side hustle or like a business? The upside is potentially huge, kind of lets you escape that 9 to 5 and yeah, work 24 hours a day, but we're not getting into that. But yeah, the income potential is huge. And even if the side hustle or business doesn't necessarily work out, you'll learn so much about kind of like the real world and kind of shipping a product, collaborating, filling a need, that you can honestly take all those lessons and apply it to your potential career path in the future. And then that'll help you get a leg up on the competition. You can also risk max in the 9 to 5 sense as well. We all know that applying to jobs fucking sucks. There's like 500 dudes who already beat you to it, and then you're also competing with people of a higher skill applying down. So it's kind of like a complete fiesta right now, and I do not envy new grads. That being said, instead of hitting LinkedIn Easy Apply and becoming the 501st applicant to that role, you can instead DM the hiring manager or DM the recruiter or just DM somebody at the company and maybe ask them for a referral instead. And again, I know this sounds like some like hocus pocus career coach like shenanigans. It's like I promise you it works, right? I had a buddy literally graduated like 2-3 months ago. He was not getting any hits on his resume because again, new grad, no experience, fuck job market. Eventually, he literally just got frustrated and just started DMing people, whether that's like the recruiter or the hiring manager, or just like literally sending cold emails. And within 3 weeks, he literally had a new job. So again, the downside here is so fucking small, right? Because at the end of the day, the worst case scenario is that you get left on red and you feel ever so slightly cringe. But the upside's huge because again, you can land a cushy new job and then you can kind of leverage those skills to then get yourself better positions. Again, not trying to sound like a give them a firm handshake type boomer, but I do want to just kind of give credence to some alternative methods. Along a similar vein, if you kind of think about it, but not too hard, relationships are also a form of networking. And that kind of brings me to my second pillar of kind of like risk maxing in the social or relationship aspect. Again, this comes in many forms, such as maybe talking to a stranger, joining like a cool social club or activity club, or maybe even asking that cute girl out. The downside profile is extremely similar to before. It's about 5 seconds of cringe or potential awkwardness, but the upside's technically infinite. You could literally find a new group of friends that you hang out with for the rest of your life. You could experience a new hobby or opportunity that you wouldn't have otherwise, and maybe learn a little bit about yourself. By socially risk maxing, you can literally potentially meet like your new best friend or like a business partner, or like your fucking wife, man. So the 5 seconds of awkwardness is severely outweighed by the future lifetime happiness you can potentially get. The final pillar I got for you boys is kind of the knowledge and skill risk max / like the public learning risk max. And the idea here is that you kind of learn these high knowledge, high leverage skills, but you do it out in public. That way, even though you don't really have much authority, it forces you kind of gain that authority and gain that authority quickly. And this applies to any high leverage skill where it's a competitive market, whether that's sales, computer programming, some form of design work. As long as you kind of start building out in the open, you get a lot of eyes on you and you can kind of iterate so much faster. The downside here is kind of like that imposter syndrome, or like having some asshole be like, hey bro, your art fucking sucks. But at the end of the day, like moments like that really turbocharge your learning. And if you view it as like, again, a 20-second downside for like a lopsided upside, you're sitting way better than the average person. The dude who's willing to like reputationally risk max is the dude who's going to get ahead in life. So at the end of the day, I'm just kind of like asking you, like, just don't be afraid to like look stupid or like ask that dumb question or like take that unpopular stance, or just like do everything but do it out in the open. Because by doing that, you instantly stand out from like the 99% of other people who kind of hide behind that conformist, comfortable safety, right? If you're willing to look foolish to get good and take those like public swings to get that fast feedback and learn quickly, you're going to be unstoppable. Whatever medium you choose to build in, don't be afraid to share it. Post your code on GitHub, man. Get that art portfolio out so people get eyes on it. Post your design work on Twitter, right? Make that blog post, or make that YouTube video. What I'm trying to say is you shouldn't be ashamed to build out in public. You shouldn't be afraid of looking foolish to get good. You should always have skin in the game and be reputationally risk maxing. Speak up when needed, pitch your ideas, call out bullshit when you see it. And that more or less wraps it up. So look, at the end of the day, I'm not here to just give you like some 10-step productivity blueprint hack. Look, like, you're a smart guy. Like, you don't need a life coach, but I do need you to like stop playing defense. If you got this far into the video, man, you kind of fucked yourself over, because now I am going to be assigning some homework. Pick one asymmetric swing, like literally just one, and go ahead and do it. I don't care how small or how big, okay? Fire off a cold DM to the hiring manager for that job you've always wanted. Go out to the fucking rock climbing gym and hit a sick climb, even though you're probably gonna look stupid. Post that blog post. Hit up that cute girl you've been eyeing up, right? Whatever it is, no matter how small, how big, I just want you to go out there and do it and make it as low friction as possible. If it flops, who gives a fuck? You lost 10 minutes, maybe gained a funny story, but if it succeeds, yeah, now we're cooking with gas. At the end of the day, all I'm trying to say is that if you're a young man in his early 20s, I want you to be risk maxing. You owe it to yourself to be risk maxing. Stop living like that 42 accountant with 3 kids and a fixed rate mortgage that you locked in at 8% and you're down bad on your luck. You're in your 20s, you're single, you're resilient, your downside's capped at 0. Don't let that comfortable stagnation trick you into trading infinite upside for that temporary safety. All that being said, thank you for watching or listening. Drop a comment below with the risk you're going to take this week. That way you can be held accountable by the other fellas in the comments. And yeah, if you liked it, subscribe, hit the like button. Will I make another video like this? Probably not, but it was fun and I got the video itch. So all that being said, my name is Flux. Thank you all for watching.